Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking with an absolutely delightful gentleman about leadership and some other things that are absolutely critical to whatever we're doing in life, right? You're the leader of your family. You're the leader maybe at a volunteer organization, but you're often called on to be a leader in your business, if you are an employee. And of course, if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, you are a leader. So please join me in welcoming Noel Massie to our program today. Welcome, Noel. How are you?
Well, thank you, Deb. I'm really happy to be on your show today and spend some time with you and your listeners on the Power Hour today. It's going to be a great time.
I love it. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Noel Massie began working for UPS part-time during college and rose through the ranks to become vice president for UPS's U.S. delivery operations. Before his retirement in 2019, he oversaw 200,000 employees who were led by 12,000 supervisors. In this role, Noel supported and guided the package delivery and logistics services in the United States. He continues to mentor young leaders and supervisors. He is also the author of Congrats, You've Been Promoted. Noel is currently a member of numerous boards, including the Annenberg Foundation, which holds a $1.7 billion endowment, where Noel serves on their investment committee that guides the foundation's investment strategy. He also serves on the Los Angeles Urban League's executive committee, where he has served as chairman for 9 years. He serves on Chapter 1 US, an organization that seeks to enhance elementary school literacy, and also he serves on the board of the Asian American and Pacific Islander Legal Center. He has received over a dozen awards, including the Peter Drucker School of Management Leadership Award. Holy cow! You are so incredibly talented and knowledgeable, and I am so glad that we're going to have this chance to chat today.
Well, thank you, Deb. I actually, what I am is I've been very fortunate to have great mentors, individuals in my life that gave me encouragement and lessons around leadership over a 42-year career. And I feel obligated to pass it forward, no doubt.
I love it. Well, I told folks just a little bit about your career, but tell us a little bit more about how it is that you got to where you are today.
Well, I wrote the book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted, and I'm going to shamelessly put it up.
Yes, Vanna. We have Vanna.
There you go. And I wrote that book. I ideated, that book about 10 years ago, actually, before I retired, when I was president of U.S. operations, vice president, I should say. And we had a phenomenon in our organization that was really similar to other organizations. I sat on I didn't mention that I was chairman of the board also of the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce.
Wow.
When I was on the West Coast in 2014. And so I had relationships with a lot of business leaders, presidents, general managers, and everyone was going through the same phenomenon. Baby boomers were leaving at a high velocity.
Right.
Promotions were happening at the bottom of the organization in ways that it hadn't occurred probably since the end of World War II or in the 40s. And so there you have it. And experience was leaving, inexperience was arriving. How do you make those things work in organizations? Because nothing can diminish, right? Service needs to be excellent. Products need to be great. So it really comes down to the people on the floor that lead, right? Because an organization's true nature is built in the trenches. And the fact of the matter is that at UPS, we were having a real challenge keeping up with that demand.
Okay.
I was having a challenge keeping up with that demand. It still exists today. So I wrote, congrats, you've been promoted, for exactly the reason of training and development on the front line for the manager, not just the newly promoted person or the business owner who is promoting people. Yes, here's a truism. There is no business or event in life that doesn't have someone leading it.
Right.
Whether it's a donut shop or a Fortune 50 company, someone is leading the organization. A law firm, there's a lead in the organization. But if you think about how people learn leadership, it's typically sink or swim. It's going to be some life experience. They might be on a debate team or a baseball coach or that kind of stuff. And they do a great job. And the organization goes, hey, you're doing a great job. We're going to make you the leader. But leadership, although it's not rocket science, it is a science. That's why there's so much content out there on leadership, as a matter of fact. But typically what you'll find are leadership books for individuals that want to be the next Steve Jobs or Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or right. Or people looking to hit the big time quick, But there's not content out there, at least that I could find, and I read a lot of books, for someone who's in the trenches, right? They work in the supermarket and they oversee the people that stock the shelves, right? Or run the dock, or the person in Granger or Costco who's managing the forklift drivers. There's not content for that. And there's not content for the 27-year-old who gets promoted. And all of a sudden they have 12 people and, 6 or 7 of them are over 50 and they're intimidated. And one of them says, you know what? I'm not doing what you just asked. And in that moment, the person doesn't know which way to turn.
Right. Yeah. They're like,
Right. So in the book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted, I talk about the tactics you need in order to do that, right? The skills specifically,
right,
as well as the values necessary to effectively lead, whether you're a business owner or a person in an organization.
Right. And I love the book because I was one of those people, right? I worked for an extremely large company. At the point where I worked for them, they were the 7th largest corporation in the world. So big company, right? And I was promoted to the head of corporate communications for 4 business units. And this was in Denver. And, I'd applied for the job. I mean, they didn't just randomly promote me. But so I was promoted. And then what, right? I got no training. I was all of a sudden in charge of my friends, right? How many times, and my peers, my coworkers, and I had really absolutely no idea what to do. It was, as you said, definitely sink or swim. Yeah. And I was very fortunate, I hope, that I was able to do a good job. But it really was incredibly challenging because hey, you're promoted and you take over now. Right. And you're still trying to figure out, wait a minute, where's my desk? Did they move?
Right, exactly.
At things like that.
The organization, and that's an interesting aspect. As a president, I had an executive team. I had a chief financial officer, director of human resources, director of engineering. And I don't know that people really understand that about UPS, but I was president of 5 different business units before I became vice president of U.S. delivery operations at the request of the CEO and COO. But that being said, when I would get a director, someone in a high level position, let alone someone in the front line, the one thing that I would ensure they understood very well, it wasn't because of a fault they had. It's just that human nature is human nature. And people want to hit the ground running. They start looking at reports and numbers and organizations like, hey, we need to get this fixed. I need you to get after it, blah, blah, blah. Here's our priorities. All of these things, start to surface, and they matter. But they don't ever matter more than the people on the team.
Right.
Ever. It's like an NFL head coach understands that the plays they run matter. Practice matters. They understand all that. But they understand that it absolutely does not matter more than the individual people. Right? They spend a tremendous amount of time coaching individual people, right? Because leadership, Deb, is coaching. Let me say that again. Leadership is coaching, okay? When someone gets promoted to a leadership position, okay, leadership is not a promotion. It's a responsibility.
Yes.
It's a responsibility to develop the members of the team. Now, having said that, I would always ensure that that director met the team. Okay, so here's a first week. You don't get to read reports and numbers and blah, blah, blah. Here's what you get to do. You get to meet the 30 members you have been given as a responsibility. You get to know what it is about them that's important to know. And that goes to the foundation of the book. What are the terms and conditions that the individual has? Because we all have terms and conditions. And the foundation of my book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted, is the terms and conditions of value-based leadership. That's the foundation. What I want the reader and the individual to understand is that everyone has terms and conditions. Not just a parking lot when you park your car, not just an app when you buy an airline ticket and you click that box for, do you accept the terms and conditions? When you hire someone, you are accepting their terms and conditions. Because people work for people, not companies.
Right.
That's how it works. That's how it really works. People work for people. And so having said that, if I were to ask you, okay, Deb, I want you to write down the 5 non-negotiable conditions that must exist in order for you to be in a relationship, whether it's with a company or a person.
Right.
They're going to look pretty much the same. You know, you're going to write down, and I can dig the kind of predictive, because I've done it enough time in seminars, and people write down trust, listening,
Respect,
dignity, because people don't sell you their dignity. And they sell you their time. Okay, they don't sell you their dignity.
Right.
Okay, they don't sell you their respect. There's either you respect someone or you disrespect them. There's no gray. Okay, there's no gray in that. But most people don't understand that, especially when they're in the fast-paced life of running a business, right? I mean, small business owners are challenged the most here, where they have all these priorities, they're trying to make money, blah, blah, blah. And I have seen some absolutely horrendous treatment of frontline individuals by small business. You know why? Because they understood how to get product and sell it online, not how to lead, okay? They just did, right? It wasn't intentional, but there's unintended consequences from that behavior. And so the point is the terms and conditions are important to know. They're important to understand. So you meet 30 people, you sit down with them, and the introduction matters. It matters.
Right.
It matters, okay? You're a new boss. You know what people do when they get new bosses? They get really nervous.
Yeah. Are they going to keep me? Are they going to change my job?
They get really nervous, right? And when you got a new boss, you got really nervous. Okay, so to be clear, you know, you can't say, well, when I get a new boss, I get really nervous, but when I am the new boss and the people under me are really nervous, yeah, I'm just not going to care about that. No. Wrong answer. So they should meet them and give them their 30 minutes to say, hey, you know, I'm your new boss. My job is to coach you. See, here's what's important. That's where the terms and conditions are established on the relationship. My role is to coach you, is to provide you feedback. It's to make you better at what you do.
Yes.
That's really my role. My role isn't to be a human memo. It's not just to give you orders every day. That's not my role. The role is to coach you. So I'm going to spend time to learn your role and what you do. But more importantly, you know, what's really important is that we have mutual respect. Understand.
And that is earned.
That's right. But what's really important in this relationship is that we both respect that integrity matters first.
Yes.
And I will always have that as the most important value I display is that of integrity and ethics.
Yeah. What I say matters.
That's right. But when I talk about that in the book, what I want the new leader to understand and the experienced leader, you can't imply we're going to have integrity. No, you can't just say, well, because I have it.
Yeah.
It's implied. No, it has to be vocalized. It has to be verbalized. People need to understand on a daily basis what the value equation in our environment is going to look like. And that's how you build trust, because trust is built over time. Okay, that's what happens is that, you know, by keeping your word, you build trust because that's how trust is built. And so I talk about the terms and conditions of value-based leadership very specifically, but that's great. You know, it's like, well, okay, but what's important is, okay, so how do you do that? And here's what I observed over 40 years is you articulate it. You make sure that the team knows,
Yeah.
listen, team,
Mhm.
we're gonna have long days,
Mhm.
we have tough days,
Mhm.
we have hard days.
Mhm.
Here's the day we're never having, the one that lacks integrity.
Mhm.
When a leader says that verbally to 100 people, 200 people, 10,000
Mhm.
people, it matters.
Mhm.
And when I would say it as a president of 30,000 people,
Mhm.
it mattered.
Mhm.
And it mattered to the delivery driver. And it mattered to the manager. And it mattered to the supervisor. Because when they found themselves in situations that were questionable,
Mhm.
here's what they heard me say to them in a broad sense all the time. Listen, team, if there's any question, there's no question. We're not doing it. Okay. If there's any doubt, there's no doubt. Get help. Ask somebody. Okay. Never go it alone. Never make a decision in isolation. Because if there's any question, there's no question. If you don't know what to do, ask.
Right.
Okay. And don't just ask one person, ask people. Ask
Because
5.
more than one person has that question.
That's right. That's right. And so that's transparency. And so when teams, I worked with a really great couple of guys who founded a company in Cincinnati. And when I met them, they had like 12 people or something. Today they have over 100. Okay. But the thing that I said to Bob and Josh more than anything is, okay, how do your people understand what's important around values? Tell me, just let me know. And they really couldn't. They tried to come up with stuff.
Oh, we have a mission statement on the
Whatever. Yeah. Right. I said, okay, so if I go out there and ask each person, give me the number one value in this organization that matters the most, what would they say to me? Are they going to say hitting the profit plan, making sales today?
Right.
What are they going to say to me? I said, well, I'm going to do that. So I want you two to write down the 5 most important things.
Yeah. What are you hoping people are going to say?
And I had them do that. Okay. And I didn't let them see each other's. And they were both co-CEOs. And then I went out and did that with their 12 people. And we know there was misalignment. I said, so here's how this worked. If you go, our number one treasured, most important thing, team, is integrity. And they hear you say that like 90 million times. What do you think is going to happen when I walk out there and ask them what's the most important thing?
They better say integrity.
Well, people will write integrity. They will write it. If you say it and you live, because number one, once you say it, you got to live it. Okay. And if you say, okay, integrity and ethics, I just want everyone clear. We're always ethical and we always have integrity. Okay. Okay. That's how you establish the path, right? That's the first couple of bricks on the path, right, to excellence, right? You don't get to the tree called excellence without walking that path first. Just understand there's, it's not rocket science, but there's a science, right? And the point I'm making here is, pretty obvious, is that intentional leadership means you do things intentionally.
Right. Not by accident.
That's right. Think about that, right? But if I were to say to your listeners today, when you came into your place of business, what did you do intentionally to drive the values of the organization? What did you do intentionally to drive the values of your team? And I'll tell you that most of the time there's nothing. But here's the irony of that. And I love doing this with leaders who have children. I go, how many children you got? Whatever, right? Especially leaders that have kids that are, of adolescent age.
Oh dear, teenagers.
That 3 or 4 year old, the 13. I go, so are the values of your children important? I mean, please. The answer is a resolute, yes, please, like screaming yes. What do you do to drive the values of your kids? Blah, 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 right? How do you do that? Tell me how you demonstrate values to your children. And they'll have something pretty specific.
Right.
I go, so tell me the same exact thing for them 10,000 people over there that you are responsible for, period. Okay. They're not responsible for you. That's not how this works.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Kids are not responsible for parents.
10,000 people don't come in every day and go, man, we are really responsible for the CEO. We're just
here for them.
Yeah, we're really responsible for that management committee. We're really responsible for that team. No, you're responsible for their values. You own it, right? Okay. And do you come in every day as a business person and go, we own this? The people under me need to realize we own this. We own the culture. The culture belongs to us. It might as well be in our pocket. We own it. It's ours, right? Culture is built at the top of an organization. Is executed at the bottom. Is executed at the bottom. You can talk about being the greatest service organization in the world, but if that person at the bottom doesn't agree with you, you're not. Okay, you can say we're the greatest blah 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 in the world, but if that person at the bottom doesn't agree with you, then you're not. And Boeing found that out when that door blew off that airplane.
Right.
There was a mechanic who didn't believe they were the best in the world at putting doors on airplanes.
Yeah, put the door back on without all the screws.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a mechanic and a supervisor who didn't believe they were the best in the world at securing a door to an airplane as they were building it. So what happened? So the organization's president can talk about, we're going to be great. We're the best. We're awesome. We have a mission statement. It talks about excellence. Walk in my office, look at my wall. What do you see on my wall? Okay. So, you know, I have a poster on my wall that talks about how excellent we are. So that door that blew off that plane, that wasn't my fault.
Right. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. It's not my fault.
Oh, yes. And yes, it is. And we all know it. And so when leaders focus more on things other than development of the team, their results are going to look like that, right? If a head coach of an NFL team says, I'm going to focus more on the playbook and not the players, I'm going to focus more on things that have nothing to do with winning, then why would you expect that to happen?
Right.
And that really goes to another aspect of leadership I think is really critical for leaders to understand, a fundamental principle. And I talk about this as well, obviously in the book, is that you can't hope to get more than you give, but people do.
Right.
But people do, right?
Yeah.
Like
we want respect, we want hard work, we want whatever, but I'm not going to give it back.
That's right. And even more importantly is that if I don't invest in you as an individual to be great at what you do, then why should I expect you to be great at what you do? Why would I expect? I mean, I can hire someone, they have a professional skill, they may be great at X, Y, or Z. Okay, but I'm still their coach. My role is still to provide feedback to them. So if I'm not giving, why would I expect to get?
Right.
But people do. And the irony of that is, and metaphorically, I go, okay, listen, go to a bank and make a withdrawal. Go to the teller window and say, I'd like to make a withdrawal. And that was, sure, sir. Okay, so how much? What's your account number? You go, well, I don't have one. I don't have an account.
Right.
I've never made a deposit in this bank.
Now, I don't have a bank.
We're very sorry. The loan department is over there if you want a loan, but you are not getting a withdrawal. All right. Okay. And so humans are the same way. Why do you get to extract a withdrawal when you haven't made an investment? And the paycheck isn't it. People will go, well, I'm giving you a paycheck. Well, that's a requirement.
Right.
That's a requirement for the minutes you're getting from me. All right. But if you want other things from me, like excellent behavior, excellent outcomes, you have to make an investment in me personally.
Right.
That's the way the situation works. You know, it's no different than when I talked about your children. If you want your children to have the right set of values, you have to invest time in them. Right. You have to live, and being a parent is tough. I think it's the toughest role in the world, candidly.
Right.
Being a parent. All right.
Especially now. Boy.
Oh my goodness. Right. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for the challenges that parents have today that I didn't with my 30 and 32-year-old sons. Social media. It's just insane.
Right.
You know, if you look at the impact that it's having on behavior and, you know, the whole deal. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't make an investment in your children, don't expect them to develop properly.
Right.
If you don't make an investment in the people in your organization, why would they develop properly?
Right.
If what's important to you when you wake up in the morning and you grab your phone is a chart or numbers and blah, 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 you become that.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying you're not going to look at charts and numbers, et cetera.
You need
somewhere in there, you're not thinking about the coaching and development of your team, then you're failing. And I would tell you that when a coach of a professional team, basketball, football, whatever, when they're driving in, okay, they're not thinking about a play, okay? They're thinking about development. They're thinking about coaching. They're thinking about their primary. And the same thing should be that way for CEOs and people at high level positions. No question about it. I mean, I sat on top of the U.S. Delivery operation for UPS and worked with 17 presidents and their operations teams. And my role was to report to our CEO on daily results in the story. And that took coaching, right? And people say, well, no, how'd you coach? Because I coached the coaches. My role was to coach the coaches. Okay, that was how that works. And I took it.
Yeah, because it trickles down.
That's right. I took it very literally. And when I would sit on a national conference call, I would sit on a conference call from Vermont to Oregon, okay, with thousands of people. And they would hear me say what I said earlier. You know what? This is a great day to get things accomplished with integrity. This is a great day to get things accomplished and make sure our ethics stay good. Because there was always a hurricane. There was always a wildfire. There was always a flood. In my life, I can't think of very many days at all in my life where there wasn't a natural something somewhere.
I know.
Right? When you have the U.S., right? There was a flood, a fire. And when people are going into unsafe circumstances, that's when it's really important that you hit that ball and you go, listen, here's what matters for real. We're not going to just say safety first. And it's like this quote. And then we don't.
The thing on the wall.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't live it. Understand that our people need to realize that for us, okay, if there's any question, there's no question. Don't do it. If you can't do it and be safe, then don't do it.
Right.
Okay, end of story. There's not even a question, right? There's no question. And when they hear that, and of course, I would say it, and the people under me would say it, and it would reverberate through the U.S. And I was actually in Miami once in the Hialeah building. We have a big facility there. And I was in the facility doing a visit. I would usually hit, 2 or 3 places a week, across the U.S. And this employee came over to me, and he was, in his mid-50s, had, well over 25 years with the organization. He says, I understand you're Noel Massie. That was it. I am. And he introduced himself. And he goes, I just want to say thanks. And I said, okay. He says, I have never heard this management team talk about the importance of integrity and ethics the way they have in the last couple of years since you've been in this role. I said, well, I appreciate hearing that. He says, no, I want you to know. He's sure people don't walk up to you all the time and tell you that kind of stuff.
Right. And they mean it. They're not just saying it to say it.
Right. Because the one thing that my delivery drivers didn't have to be across the U.S. were political. Okay, they were key. They didn't like something, they could say it. And they did often, okay? So I appreciate it. I appreciate hearing that. But the point of that I want your listeners to understand is that there's always an echo from the leader. You need there to be an echo. It's intentional. You want there to be an echo. And so you want people that have influence, because the only place influencers exist aren't in social media. Understand in your company, there are influencers. There are people that are highly respected and they have influence. Have you sat down with them? Do they understand the value-based equations that are really, really important? That the investment that you're willing to make in the organization is personal and it matters? Because those influencers are the ones who talk to that new person.
Right.
They're the
And
ones
it's
who
usually the people you don't expect.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And sometimes they're the quietest person, not the loudest. They have the most influence. As a matter of fact, I talk about that again also in the book, is meet the influencers first. Know who they are, because influencers matter significantly, right? And so that being said, the real point of all of this is values are driven by the leaders of organizations. And when they're done intentionally, they're done intentionally.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, so much there to digest and talk about. I mean, the first thing is that I think so many times the leaders, and I'm just using that as in, the director, the manager, the whoever, forget that the people are people. They see them as just an employee, just somebody that's easily replaced. So they treat them like that. You talk about coaching. So as we record this, yesterday the Kansas City Chiefs played and lost. Bummer. I'm a Bronco, but Patrick Mahomes went down. And has what looks to be a fairly substantial injury to his leg. Now, Andy Reid, I'm sure, is thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But it's not just, hey, have we lost our quarterback? He cares about him as a person. What we need to do to make sure that he's taken care of, all of those things. And I think that is the thing that so many times the people who are in charge forget. When I worked for that large company, it was a company called ING. It's changed its name now, but it was ING. For many years, their employees were people, and how they treated them was so incredible. And then they had a change in leadership, right? And they were told, oh no, you can't do that. That doesn't, that might affect the bottom line, all of these things. And morale went from, this is a fabulous place to work to, hey, how can I get out of here? And it was just simple things. And sometimes people forget that sometimes it is the simple things. Celebrating people's birthdays, sending, a get well card, asking about their child who might be ill, all of those things. And it doesn't take any time, but the benefits are so incredible.
Oh, you just nailed it square. And I want to reframe what you just said in a way is tactical and important for your listeners, right? Everything you just said, a lot of people look at that and go birthdays, anniversary, blah, 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 right. That's like soft. That's like the soft stuff, that's a sign of softness, and that's going to make us look. No, let me just put this in context. There's not one CEO in America, not one. I guarantee it. Not one small business owner, not one in America, not one. If I said to them this question, and I've asked this question, dozens and I used to visit 100 to 150 small business owners a year. And I did that for at least 20 of my 42 years. So if I said that I went and visited 3,000 small business owners, I'm probably leaving some on the table. Okay. Now, here's why I say what I say, the way I say it. If I asked them, and I did, do you want a team of people in that warehouse to run through a wall for you, to be that committed? And they all went, yes. Then how are you earning that?
Right. Are you going to run through the wall for them?
That's right. It's like, how are you earning that? And this is how you earn it. You just said it. When you're in a meeting, something as small as, hey, today is Deb's 30th anniversary. Her and her husband have been married for 30 years. Let's give her a hand. Do you know
10 seconds.
That's gold. That's gold. You just laid gold in 10 seconds. But the point is that when you do it, it becomes authentic. It becomes genuine. It becomes the ethos in the company. People matter, and they matter a lot.
Right.
And understand it. And I have seen people where we've had layoffs and cutbacks and all this kind of stuff, and it didn't get personal in that way. That it was about work was down 10%. We had 10% less work. I mean, it was, kind of simple. They knew it. We had, we used to do 1,000 widgets. Now we're doing 800 widgets. Okay. And, everyone does 8 widgets each. That means that we need this many less people, and the people on the junior side of the table with the layoff people, blah, blah, blah. But it didn't turn into you're letting me go because you don't like me, or you're just whatever, right? I mean, the human side of business is ironic that people will say this and not mean it. They'll say, treat others as you want to be treated.
The golden rule.
But then they won't do it, right? So the point of all that is that, yes, when you acknowledge and recognize people, and you're the leader, that's your gold bar. Breathe it. It is the most important aspect of the leader's conversation with the team is recognizing things. I mean, everyone does something well. All employees have a strength. When you always focus on the weaknesses and you deliver the poison with no antidote, meaning training and coaching, you're going to get a response that looks like you just gave somebody poison, right? It's not going to be, I'm on your side now. Not going to look that way. So the comments you just made are important because feedback, whether it's recognizing a birthday or an anniversary, giving recognition to an employee in front of the group, great accomplishment. For instance, yesterday, we were up against it. We needed to get the product out, blah, blah, blah. Dad was 120% effective. Hey, team, I just want to thank a few of you that excelled yesterday under those circumstances in front of the team.
Right.
The dog was 120%. Her assignment got done. Give her a hand. Ron, blah, blah, blah. He went over and helped Leslie get her stuff out. Let's give him a hand. That's how you create an environment. That's how you create an environment, a climate, a collaborative climate. So, when I talk about climate and environment, particularly with business owners, I want you to think about this. In your organization, there's a temperature. Think about a thermostat on the wall. There's a temperature. It can be cold, it can be hot. People respond to those things. I said, if I make it like -5 in your office right now, you're going to feel it. If I make it like 135 degrees in your office right now, okay, I said, you are the thermometer. I say, I want you to understand this literally. You as the leader are the thermometer. What temperature you want it to be?
Right.
You want it to be 72 every day? Then that's on you. You make it 72. You want it to be 5 below zero? That's on you. It doesn't just happen by itself. Okay, so the days where you have it at 130 degrees and people are all uncomfortable and they don't want to be sitting in the chair, I just want you to understand who did that. The circumstances didn't do that. You did that. Your behavior did that.
Right.
And there's a leader.
React to circumstances.
Right. And as a leader, you said when the job was open to be the business owner, open the restaurant, open a donut shop, promote someone in there, you raised your hand and said, that's what I want to be. Pick me for that. I want to be the leader. Pick me to be the leader. Okay. Well, now you got picked.
Right.
With that comes a responsibility.
Right.
And the responsibility is you own the culture. You own the behavior. You own the values. You own the temperature.
Right.
And sometimes when you feel like you're having a human moment, you need to realize you don't get to have it. You don't get to be human. In the moment where you feel like you're angry, or you're frustrated, okay, step away because you don't get to be, right. You don't get to be human. All right. You don't get to inject your humanness in this moment. And the metaphor I like to give leaders, I go, I want you to think about something. A person who is a general or an admiral in the military, they're responsible for lives. Thousands of lives. Could be millions in a moment. Okay. They don't ever get to make an emotional decision. It needs to be tactical and important. And it can have nothing to do with their feelings. You're going to have situations where this can have nothing to do with your feeling.
Right.
What's the professional path? What's the collaborative path? Get your ego out of the room. If it's in the room, tell it to leave. And then use the people that you work with to solve the issue. And this is not hyperbole, because here's how it works in real life. When you leave your ego, you tell your ego to leave, and you are investing in your people, whether it's through recognition, etc., right? Getting in an environment where you set a climate of collaboration, and they're sitting there on a table, and they're collaborating. They know you're the boss. You don't need a sign on your...
Right, yeah.
Okay? And if you're solving for an issue, and they're going to come to the table and help you solve for it, let me just share with you that the solution created by a group of people that are going to execute that plan is going to work way better than if you tell them what to do.
Right. Because they have bought into it.
And people support things they help create.
Right.
It's a natural law.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to say, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
But, that it doesn't work well with a teenager, you know, and it doesn't work well with an employee.
Tell you that I would tell you that the effort needs to be placed more in influencing the behavior than instructing it.
Right.
Okay. And there's no doubt that with young children, you're probably going to have more instructional moments.
Right. You're going to say, you're going to clean up your room.
But metaphorically, and I talk about the use of metaphors to get people to support the things they create works a bazillion% better. Let me explain what I mean by that. There's probably not a circumstance that anyone can throw at me personally where I can't find a metaphor for that thing to use with that person to get them to see and be influenced a little bit differently than the way that they're thinking. Whether it's performance, whether it's reliability, it really doesn't matter. And one of the things, because on many occasions, when I would talk to managers and supervisors and we talk about reliability or whatever, I'd say, that the reliability is like the easiest thing in the world today to talk to an employee about, as far as I'm concerned. I said, because I don't know anyone that hasn't used DoorDash or Uber or some gig economy thing or something. And I'd be like, and I'll just role play with you right now. I'd say, Deb, good morning. I'd like to talk to you for a moment. And, and I'd say, do you use any gig economy, DoorDash or Uber or any of that stuff?
I do.
Yeah. So like I was using DoorDash last week and they didn't show up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they didn't show up. And then I tried them again and they showed up, but they were like an hour late.
Oh.
So I decided, okay, well, that's not working. So I'm going to try Postmates. Okay. But what would you do if you had the problem with DoorDash the way that I did? What would you do?
I'd do the same thing.
You'd use somebody else?
Yep.
Yeah, so reliability is important to you. Okay, well, the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've been late like 4 times.
Oh. But I have a reason for that. I have an excuse for that. That right?
Well, would you accept the reason from DoorDash? Did that matter what the reason was?
Not
Would you you just went to Grubhub or whatever.
Right. I didn't.
Well, the organization loves what you do. When you're here, you're a great employee. You do a nice job. But you know what? When you're not here, the jobs aren't getting done.
Right.
And you know whose job is it, Deb? Whose job is it?
Mine.
So it's not my job. Who does that job belong to?
Me.
Okay, so if it's yours and it belongs to you, the way that you're treating it doesn't suggest that it's too important.
Right.
So how can we get this corrected?
Right.
That's the next question. So I'm asking you, Deb, so how can we get this corrected? What are you going to do differently?
Well, I'm going to make sure that my alarm works or take a different route to work or whatever. I'll take the steps to make sure it doesn't happen again.
It's your job. It's not my job. You treat it. I mean, if you're going to behave like the late DoorDash, that's on you, not me. Right? So I just need one thing. Do I have your word, Deb, that you're going to correct the problem?
Yes.
Say it to me.
Yes, I'm going to correct the problem.
Give me your word.
It's my word. I'm standing on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. You're a great employee. I love working with you, but I can't work with you when you're not here.
Right.
Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a good morning.
Bye.
So in the book, I talk about the 4x5 method. What I just used on you was the 4x5 method.
Oh, okay.
And I combined it with metaphor. So I worked a new leader to understand how to use the 4x5 method combined with metaphors to win conversation.
Right.
Without having to force the narrative, right? Without giving you can't tell someone how to think. I just want to be clear. You can only influence it to begin with. So it's a fallacy to think you can instruct someone, Deb, you better be on time. You've been late 3 times. It's a positive environment. It creates a positive climate. that makes Deb not feel threatened. No, Deb will feel threatened. Not just in that conversation, but understand it will bleed into other things.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to say it in something else.
And then leaders get confused is believing that you have a harsh leadership style or a soft leadership style. That's wrong. Right. It's completely inappropriate. You need to have an effective leadership style. And harsh leadership styles lead to high turnover, dissatisfaction. Soft leadership styles lead to a lack of accountability.
Right. Yeah, because what you say doesn't matter.
That's right. An effective leadership style holds people to the standard you hired them to do. But it also puts responsibility for that on them in a way that creates ownership for being time, for creating it. The metaphors matter in helping you.
We can understand that.
That's right. It disarms the person. I'm not attacking you. We start talking about DoorDash, right?
Because we've all experienced
situations where people say, well, you know, the company expects me to do 20 widgets an hour. And I don't think that's fair. I mean, I think that's not a fair standard, 20 widgets an hour, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you know, okay, well, you don't think that's fair, but let me ask you a question. Okay, when you got hired, what was the standard?
Yeah, did they tell you were doing 20 widgets an hour?
What was the standard when you got hired? Was it 0 widgets an hour? Or what was it? I mean, you know, I know I can go look at your records and I know that there's a number in there. I said, so let me ask you this question. If you think that standards are unimportant, you have a car?
I do.
You ever have a service?
I do.
And when you take it in, do you expect a committed return date?
I do.
That you took it in and they went, well, hey, listen, we'll give it back to you when we feel like it. I mean, you know, I'm just saying, okay, we're going to decide when that car is returned. Are you okay with that?
No.
What if you hired a plumber in your home and you needed a pipe fixed or something? The person said, yeah, well, yeah, I'm working on it and I'll finish when I feel like it. Would you rehire them again? Would you keep them? No. Probably no.
No. I mean, even if they do excellent work, if it's not dependable.
Yeah, you get a roof on your house. You get a roof on your house. And the roofer says, you know, we're about 95% effective putting roofs on houses. I mean, that's how you're doing your job. You're 95%.
Right. Yeah. Right? And you're like, that 5% is pretty gosh darn important.
So for every 5 shingles we lay out of 100, 5 are going to leak. You going to hire me? And the answer is no. So I teach people to always approach a problem with an employee, thinking out, preparing for that conversation, number one. Okay, thinking of metaphors. Once you do it, you get really good at it, like me.
Right, you just start finding them.
You get really good at it, like me. And so I was so good at it as a manager before I became a president that I didn't have a lot of employees that wanted to tangle with me. Okay,
they knew.
I would be very candid about that. Because they got to learn, you know, where I was coming from and that I was going to, you know, come up with a narrative that made sense. Wasn't going to be nonsense. Just going to be logical, right? Because people will throw the things at you that they believe you can't catch.
Right.
It's their job. You can't get mad at them. Okay? They're supposed to trip you up. They're supposed to make you off balance. They're supposed
thinking about them like a teenager, right?
That's exactly right. It's like you know, and you think your children are supposed to say, "How can we be the best children in the world today?"
No.
Doesn't work like that, right? So that being said, you know, it's really important for people in leadership roles to take ownership and responsibility for it. And what does that mean? It means that they invest in learning how to be great at it.
Oh.
That's right. And I'm not saying that the book I've written, Congrats, You've Been Promoted, is an end-all be-all, but it's an absolute great foundation for any individual that wants to get better at the kind of thing we have discussed over the last, 45 or 50 minutes. Is that in order to be good at influencing behavior, here's the key. You need to want to be good at it.
Right.
It's like if you have a hobby, anything you do, bowling, golf, you know that to get better at it, you have to go practice. It's ironic to me that people say, well, that's my hobby. I'm going to go practice bowling. I'm going to go practice to the golf range. I'm going to go practice, whatever it is I do because, I want to be good at it. But I say, okay, but your profession is being a leader. How are you practicing that? I go, how do you practice being a leader? Are you role playing situations at home or with your friends? Do you have so much pride that you can't say, okay, listen, to your spouse, okay, listen, honey, I want you to be a disgruntled employee.
Yeah, I've got this situation.
Here's a situation, right? I'm going to use motivational affirmative feedback with you, right? Motivational is I am developing you, complimenting you, that kind of thing. It's going to be when I'm giving you accolades, when I'm building you up. In the formative feedback, okay, I'm going to give you 4 positive inputs for every 1 constructive. 1 to 1, right? That's a researched and studied narrative that when you want to train someone how to drive a forklift, that as you train them, 4 positive inputs on things that they accomplish well, the 1 constructive is more effective than 4 constructive and constructive and constructive with no motivational. Doesn't work, okay? Right? So I talk about delivering motivational and formative feedback while giving a performance review or whatever. But at home, you tell your spouse or your whoever, friend, okay, you're going to be the employee, and here's a scenario. Here's a role play. And you can make it as conflict-driven as you want. But here's the point. Practice matters. And I'll give a metaphor to create some congruence on what that is. I'm going to teach you how to drive a car through an oil slick on the highway. Okay. You're driving on the highway, and someone burst their engine or crankcase, and the oil slick hits the cement, and you're going 75 miles an hour. How do you navigate it, right? And I want to teach you how to. So I take you to a track. I put oil on the track, and I talk about the behavior of the vehicle and what's going to happen before we hit that slick.
Right.
Then I demonstrate it. And as I demonstrate it to you, I go 70 miles an hour, and I'm going, okay, I'm accelerating up 3,000 RPM. Now, when I hit this oil slick, Dev, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the wheel 90 degrees to the right. And then I'm going to get through it. And you see the car, blah, blah, we do it. Then I'm going to do it again, right? And I'm going to explain every step using the 7 steps of effective training, which is a technique I talk about in the book. Then I'm going to have you go through the oil slick, and you're going to explain to me each step. Step 1, step 2. And we're going to keep doing that and repeating that till you get through the oil slick. Here's what happens in real life. When you see that oil slick, it's not the first time.
Right. Your muscle memory kicks in.
That's right. At a minimum, it's not the first time. At a minimum. Okay, so when you're at work and you tell John, here's your assignment today, and he goes, I'm not doing that. And John is 60 years old and you're 27. Or you're the business owner. And it's even worse. You're the business owner at 32, you're an entrepreneur, and John is 60. Everybody in the company is looking at you.
Oh, yeah. How are you going to react?
What climate are you going to set? What are you going to do with the temperature dial? You're going to turn it to 130 degrees?
Yeah.
You're going to leave it at 72. You are making a decision. And like driving through that oil slick, if you want to get through it properly, you need to know how to do it. And in order to know how to do it, you need to practice doing it. More than in that moment when everyone's watching, right? And that's what the 4x5 method does, is it teaches you what to literally do when you're in the trenches, in the foxhole, in the moment, when no one's there to help you get through the oil slick, because you've been through it 20 times.
Right.
And that's the whole point of the set part 2 of the book is all tactical. And part 1 is on the value equation, right? But the things that we've talked about literally matter, and I've seen them literally, taught them for years. So they're effective.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could talk for another 2 hours. I mean, we didn't talk about the chapter on you can't have favorites. I love that. That was great. There's just so many great chapters, but one of the things, and it just, really struck me with exactly what you were talking about. Not only do you have to practice and work through these things and keep doing it, it's a continual learning process.
Yes.
Just because you get promoted, you run that company, you do whatever, doesn't mean you stop learning. You have got to continue learning as that leader. Because things change, all sorts of things. And it's not just, okay, well, I used to deal with baby boomers and now I've got Gen Alphas. What the heck am I doing with them? There's so many things. AI is, of course, something that's really going on. But yeah, you have to continually be learning, even if all you're doing is reinforcing what you already know. That's just as important.
That's right. And you just hit a really important point. I just about a month ago taught a seminar, and the one thing that happens with the book, if you buy 100 copies of the book, I'll teach a seminar.
Cool.
As a component of that of that purchase. The only thing that the company has to do is bring me in and buy me a room and give me an airline ticket, and I'll teach the seminar to the people in the organization, the amount of them that they want. But in any event, I just did that for the city of Chicago's Office of Inspector General. The district attorney has 32 attorneys under her who run the organization's 400 employees. So the department is. I just taught them the day-long workshop on the book, and these are experienced attorneys. They weren't new, but Deborah, the attorney general, attended it with her people. She didn't just do what so many leaders do and go, "Oh, I'm going to get
go to that thing today.
I'm in, and you're going to in this workshop. I don't know what they talked about or what you were taught." She sat through the entire workshop. She sat through the entire day as we role played conflict resolution, as we really played getting people to do their jobs more effectively, as we role played it. And this is 30 something attorneys, and I will say that as we've talked about on this podcast, that they got a ton out of it, because when do you get to do that? When do you get to pull the car over, get off the freeway, park the car, and learn, right? And when you get to a point where you think you have arrived, where you never need to get better and learn, then the only person being fooled is you, all right? Because that never changes, that never stops. Developing skills never stops, never goes away. I mean, you take the most experienced quarterback, like Phillip Rivers played for the Colts yesterday.
44 years old.
Okay, and believe you me, he understood he had to work on it and practice and be ready for that, right? You never stop needing to develop, ever. That never changes.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Noel, this really has been so much fun. And I definitely want to have you on again, because I think what you're talking about is so absolutely critical for anyone to be learning. And I don't care if you are the president, the founder, the department head, the person in the mail room, the mom, the dad, whatever. All of this applies. And so we will definitely have you on again. But in the meantime, for people who are saying, I need to work with you, how do they find you and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, so my website, noelmassie.com, has an information form on it that you can fill out, and my assistant, Kayla Bozeman, Bozman, can be reached by Kayla@noelmassie.com. She will respond immediately, and we can have any conversation you want, whether it be a Zoom webinar for a couple of hours. We have a couple of packages where if you buy 50 books, you get a Zoom webinar for 2 hours. Part of that purchase. If you buy 100 books, you get a physical on-site seminar as a part of that purchase. You just have to pay for the travel. But and we've done quite a bit of that. So the book's been out since June. It's done very well. Candidly, I'm really humbled by the amount of sales that have happened in the short 6-month period, and the amount of individuals that have reached out for us for exactly that has been just really kind of amazing. But that's how they can reach us, is by going to my website, noelmassie.com. And you also see the masterclass is 9 episodes that we created content that mirrors the book and talks about the skills that are in the book. And that's gone over extremely well. A couple of companies have actually installed that as their platform for their newly promoted individuals and managers.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And there's great content on your website. So I do encourage folks to go there. We do have a link in the show notes for them to be able to go there. And as I said, we will be delighted to have you on again. I would love to talk with you again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Enjoyed our conversation tremendously. And really, the audience that's on your podcast is candidly one that I like to reach out to. But I will land with just one final thought, and it's just going to be something I've said already, is for all the business owners out there, you can't hope to get more than you give, but people do. So don't be one of those. Make an investment in your own development regularly, but more importantly, leadership is influence, and the way that you do it is coaching your team.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun talking with Noel Massie. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.